Welcome to my channel, where forgotten worlds live again, familiar universes, new untold stories. What you're about to hear didn't happen in the movies, but it could have. Get your coffee and tea, and let's get started. In a world where chaos is no longer a threat, but a tradition, where once every year the law disappears and darkness takes its place, survival becomes more than instinct, it becomes an art. But what if you couldn't scream? What if you couldn't hear the danger creeping behind you, or the breath of the killer in the next room? Tonight, we enter the Purge from a place no one has dared to explore. The world of silence. This is not just a fight to survive. It's a war inside shadows, a hunt inside stillness, a nightmare with no sound. And his name is Elias. Elias had never heard a single sound in his life. Not the song of birds, not the warning bark of a dog, not the scream of a dying man. Born deaf in a world that slowly descended into madness, he learned early on that silence wasn't just absence, it was isolation. People feared what they didn't understand, and when the Purge became law, fear turned into violence. So Elias disappeared from the world. He moved into a decaying farmhouse deep in the Appalachian woods, far from sirens, from neighbors, from the growing darkness of mankind. For 12 months a year, he grew vegetables, fixed old tech, and read ancient books. But once a year, on that cursed night, Elias became prey. He didn't sleep during Purge night. He didn't eat. He waited. In his basement panic room, lined with steel and silence, he would lock the doors and monitor the house through cameras wired to light signals. If anything moved, a red light would blink. If anything entered, the floor would vibrate. He survived 7 purges this way, but not the 8th. 10:07 p.m., Purge night. The first sign was subtle, a red flicker. He checked the camera. Nothing. Then the floor vibrated. Barely. He looked again. The front window was open. Someone was inside. Elias's heart hammered. He moved without sound, slipping through a narrow hidden path in the walls of his home, built for this very purpose. The house was no longer a home. It was a trap. On the monitor, he saw them. 2 figures, one tall, dragging a machete, the other short, dancing barefoot, humming a tune Elias couldn't hear. They moved slowly, savoring the fear they expected to find. But Elias was no ordinary victim. 10:28 p.m., the hunt begins. Elias lured them with subtle lights, a flicker in the kitchen, a shadow down the hall. The tall one chased after it. The floorboards collapsed under him, sending him into the wine cellar where motion-triggered flash bombs exploded. He screamed. Elias could see it on the monitor, but he couldn't hear it. The shorter one, laughing, dancing, made her way upstairs. She found Elias's bedroom. She found the photos on the wall. She found the book with braille pages. She found his weakness, a mirror. In it, she saw him behind her, silent, holding a long iron bar. She turned just in time to avoid the first swing, not the second. Blood painted the walls. Elias stood there, panting, watching, not shaking, just focused. 1:42. Silence breaks. He thought it was over. He dragged the bodies outside, far from the house, buried them under cold leaves. But when he returned to the monitor, a third figure stood in his living room. A child, no older than 10, holding a mask. Elias froze. The child turned to the camera and smiled, then lifted a remote. Click. The power went out. 2:06 a.m., panic room. Breach total darkness. No light, no cameras, no signals. Elias reached for his emergency torch, but the floor vibrated. Heavy footsteps, more than one. They knew his house. They knew his system. They were hunting him now. He moved through the hidden wall tunnels, reaching the panic room. It was open, unlocked. He never did that. He never left it open. On the table, a note written in perfect cursive. "You're not alone anymore, and that should terrify you." Elias turned. A woman stood in the shadows. He hadn't seen her on any camera. She wore no mask, just a calm face and eyes full of history. "You think silence is your shield," she mouthed slowly, knowing he could read lips. "But in silence, Monsters thrive. Elias ran, but the house was no longer his. The traps had been disabled, the tunnels flooded with gas, the exits sealed. He wasn't in a fortress anymore. He was in a tomb. 5:59 a.m., 1 minute before the siren. The house burned behind her as the woman walked down the gravel path with the child. Elias' shadow danced inside the flames. Maybe he was alive. Maybe he wasn't. But the woman whispered to the boy, "Every hunter becomes the hunted. Let this be his story now, a legend in a world with no mercy." The sirens began to sound in the distance. But for Elias, there would be no morning, just fire and silence. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment what you'd do if the Purge came to your town. New stories from familiar worlds every week, only here on Lore Keeper.